readers. This is Tasneem Akolawala welcoming you to the final session of Vidarbh Literary Festival with a very heavy heart because I thoroughly enjoyed anchoring. I assume you all must have enjoyed listening to so many fantastic authors all around this venue. Vidarbh Literary Festival is arguably India's largest non-fiction literary festival. We function on lines similar to other established literary festivals across the country, but with the difference that we have purely non-fiction authors in action here in Nagpur. Each year we have a central theme to the festival. This year's theme is non-fiction for inclusion. And in line with this theme, we have various authors and topics that instill these values in us. Inclusion, to be included, to be provided equal access and opportunities, resources for people who might otherwise be excluded. Inclusion of minorities, inclusion of marginalized sections of society, inclusion of differently abled, inclusion of the privileged too. Willingness to accept books of each section included in this festival. The receptiveness of readers of Maja Nagpur to lend a ear to every marvelous author included. Readers are assured to be enthralled with a fantastic array of most intriguing non-fiction books wound so seamlessly in astounding narratives by an inclusive lineup of incredible authors. I now request our moderator, Preeti Sarve, to usher the author, Sunaina Arya, onto the podium. Dalit Feminist Theory, book in focus. Accessible, essential, and ingenious in its approach. This book is for students, teachers, and specialist scholars, activists, and interested general leaders. Author in focus Sunaina Arya is a senior research fellow at the Center for Philosophy, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India. She received an honorable mention in the Blue Stone Rising Scholar Prize in 2019 by the Heller School of Social Policy and Management, Brandeis University, Massachusetts, USA, and is a founding member of Global Dalit Change Makers, an initiative of the India-China Institute, the New School, New York City, USA again. She has been a resource person for lectures, public talks, workshops, podcasts, and webinars, India and abroad. Her work provides an empirical, philosophical, conceptual, and historical understanding of Dalit feminism, making her book a landmark in gender and caste studies. I'm not done yet. Her area of research includes the social and political philosophy of B.R. Ambedkar, philosophy and psychology, and the philosophy of social sciences. Sunaina Arya's recent publications include Dalit or Brahminical Patriarchy, Rethinking Indian Feminism, released in Global Journal on Social Exclusion. Please welcome Sunaina Arya. Moderator in focus, Preeti Sarve. She is an engineer by profession. She also works as research assistant around informal settlements in Nagpur. Preeti Sarve has been working with VLF since the first edition in 2022. She likes to click pictures till her memory card explodes. Currently reading Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Over to you, Preeti.
Hi, hello everyone. So I made my author late. We were discussing in the author's lounge and we lost track of time. But yeah, let's get to the session. This is a very important session, I feel. Um, the so I would like Sunaina to introduce herself, where she grew up, and um, about herself more. Yeah.
Thank you, Preeti. I'm really honored to be here, and it's my first visit to Nagpur. I am really very happy to be here, and it's amazing and how everybody is, working with passion, with sleepless nights. So I'm so honored and humble. Thank you. And I'm so happy to share a panel with Sindhu before at 2. That was also incredible. So I'm so happy and honored. And yeah, so you asked me, Preeti, about how I grew up. And so I am from rural UP. And I grew up around the same place, and that's a district between the district of Allahabad and Kaushambi is where my education happened. And like since childhood and till high school, I was living there only. And for after high school, my family, because my sister was the first girl educated in our relations and family, so she pushed my family to get a room on rent for my education and my younger brothers. So we moved to slightly town area from where I did my senior secondary, and then I used to travel almost 2 hours one way to University of Allahabad to study philosophy and geography and military science there. And yeah, so that has been about my education. And so I have seen life in the rural areas. I've seen, and from almost 10 years now, I've been living in JNU, Delhi. I did my master's and I'm still there, and I'm about to submit my PhD there. So I mean, I have an experience of the caste, gender, sexuality, and the debates around urban, rural myself, and also as a child and as an adult, and yeah, as a Dalit, as a woman, and as somebody who comes from poor family as well. So not here for seeking empathy or sympathy, and since it's my journey. So yeah, I'm very proud to be here. I'm really looking forward to the future, and I hope that I'll make it better, even if it's not good. I have this resilience that I'm going to thrive no matter what, because I've come a long way. So I'm really proud, and Thank you, thank you. And my mother has been an inspiration for me, and she she got married at the age of 12, 13, like child marriage, and uh, in fact before. So she got governor. We used to have that as kids. So she told me that when we were kids, they scaled the height of the girl child and a boy child, and they're like, yeah, ye 4 बीतेगी वो 5 बीतेगा, okay, like this. How many? And okay, ठीक है, इनका शादी fix. And then around after puberty, and they get the girl moved to the husband's place. So my mom came from that background. She never went to school, and so she had her own struggles. But at the same time, she always ensured that her daughters don't have to go through what she went through. So she had made a lot of efforts and suffering to make us who we are. And my sister had been a great support, since she was also, creating ways for education and empowerment for me, because she was creating the path for me to follow. And now she's very proud that she always wanted to do a PhD, and now I'm getting one. So,
That was amazing.
yeah. Thank you. It took longer.
No, that's fine. Very inspirational story you have. Like, yeah, we really hope you already have made this far. Like, your book is very, very important in today's scenario. Everybody should know this concept of Dalit feminist theory. In India, we should know. Everybody should know that. Tell us more about how this book came along. How was your journey writing this book?
Right. Thanks. While I was working in my MPhil, now MPhil is scrapped, but I have an MPhil for the job market. Yeah. So when I was proposing the research on Ambedkar as a feminist philosopher, so there were questions and quite some resistance in my center, my department, and it's everywhere in academia that Ambedkar is a social reformer. Why to bring him in philosophy? Let him be a social reformer. So, as if I am somebody who will make Ambedkar a philosopher. Yeah. So, and I would allow Ambedkar to just be a social reformer. So, don't come here. You're down the stage. Okay. So, that is the broader attitude. So, and given that I was asked to write a chapter on Ambedkar, prove how Ambedkar is a philosophy. While we know that K.C. Bhattacharya, Daya Krishna, and Gandhi, who was not even an academic, I mean, with due respect, but he's a philosopher. But Ambedkar, who is probably the most educated Indian in the world, not a philosopher. So, having 2 degrees in doctorate of philosophy, not a philosopher. Yeah. So I was asked to write one chapter on Ambedkar as a philosopher and one chapter on feminism in philosophy. So I was also wondering if I want to work on feminism of Simone de Beauvoir, like the French, and then I am allowed. But if I want to work on anti-caste or South Asian or marginalized feminism, then I have to prove that what I am doing is feminism itself, and the feminism can be done in philosophy. So one chapter on that. So that time I took that opportunity to create this, create the base for how this can be done academically and how this can be done in philosophy. So that is also why I started working on this book, deriving from my arguments and my research in MPhil. I started working on Dalit feminism. And why this book? Because one, Dalit feminism cannot be done in academia. I mean, this is not academics. This is this is the argument we get, that Dalit feminism is activism. It's about social reform. It's not academics. So I thought if an academic publisher publishes it, then it is academic. At least you have one work to be called. I mean, there are so many, but still there is this resistance to accept that Dalit feminism could be an academic exercise. And another one is when young scholars like me, when they are looking for resources to work on Dalit feminism, it is very difficult for them to find all the resources at one place. So I try to collect, materials, basic materials, which I thought would be helpful for the scholars, for the readers to get a sense of what Dalit feminism could constitute of. And it's the first edition, so hopefully in future we'll have more. So those were primary reasons. And academically, we needed Dalit feminist theory because the feminist theory or existing feminist discourse had always marginalized the questions of caste. Even though patriarchy in South Asian countries, as I mentioned in the previous session on marriage, had been infected with casteism. And in fact, caste is a twin sister of patriarchy, as Ambedkar has said. So that is why I think unless and until we have an anti-caste perspective to feminism, then feminism will not be inclusive. And we're talking about inclusion. So if we are having feminism or gender justice only for a privileged few, then I am sorry, I do not call it feminism.
Yeah. Can you describe for everybody what Dalit feminism means?
Sure. So Dalit feminism is often misunderstood as a feminism of the Dalits, or for the Dalits, or by the Dalits. So I would say Dalit feminism is an anti-caste perspective towards feminism because patriarchy is caste operated. Because patriarchy is deeply linked with the casteism. That is why we call it Brahminical patriarchy. We may read that in Ambedkar, Ambedkar's analysis of caste and gender in caste in India is that article, that how patriarchy is linked with the caste. So because patriarchy is Brahminical, that is why we need Dalit feminism. So, yeah, so Dalit feminism is simply a standpoint, anti-caste standpoint. So, which could be also said that, on the similar lines of Ambedkarite feminism. Yeah, so anti-caste.
Okay. So you have mentioned how Indian feminists, or as we as Dalit Bahujan Adivasi activists call them, Savarna feminists, discredit intersectionality in the Indian context, as in they do not accept that we should use caste. They think it's dividing the feminist cause. So what do you think? Do you think intersectionality in Indian context, is it helping the cause of giving gender justice society to us, or is it hindering?
So two things. One, you talked about that how feminists think that if we bring out the question of caste, then it will divide the feminism. Similar is the case with the Dalit discourse. If you bring about the issues of gender, they think that let's focus on one thing or just marginalize it.
Right.
So that is one. So I think that is very superficial understanding. So in that way, we could say, like today we were talking that feminism is, a virus in the marriage, right?
Oh my God.
So it's the same argument that and Dalit feminism is a virus in feminism. No,
No, it's not.
no. I mean, please understand our society. If there is no caste, we'll not talk about Dalit feminism. If there is no caste, we'll not talk about Ambedkar or anti-caste perspective or Phule, Periyar. No, because caste still exists. And not just in India, not just in South Asia, everywhere, wherever the Indians go, right? So that is why we need it. If that is not there, then we don't need it. So first we have... So if we are uncomfortable with discussing anti-caste perspective, then we should start with becoming anti-caste.
Yes.
So, okay. Yeah, and the other questions, yeah, intersectionality.
Right.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, intersectionality. So, I think the critique from within the Indian mainstream, I would say mainstream feminism is more, maybe more acceptable than Savarna feminism. So I use the term mainstream feminism. So mainstream Indian feminism has some, challenging understanding of intersectionality. And chapter 1 of this book talks about, how intersectionality is accepted at the South Asian level and at the local level, because we are different from the whites and the blacks, so we are different, and then we live in this part of the society of the world. So based on region and based on our race, we accept the intersectionality. But when it comes to the internal differences of caste, then there are critique that it is colonial. yeah. So and we can accept the colonial at an international level, but at national level, let's reject colonial things. So that is a little problematic. So I want to propose to all the feminists that, let's be honest and responsible with our commitment to feminism. So that is one. Like these are the problematics, and and also that it has evolved in the law. Like this tool has come from law. Kimberly Crenshaw had, yeah, talked about it in the law, and then the argument is that uh, law has been patriarchal, so so something from the legal framework should not be used in gender discourses. That is also one of the arguments. If you read that chapter 1, you will find that it's quite interesting the way it is selectively accepted.
Right.
Yeah. That is what. So I would say that, no matter where a tool, a framework, a method is evolved from, unless, as long as it is helping us in theorizing, in writing, in conveying the issues, and in understanding, I think we all should be using it. I mean, we Britishers have given us the trains, and we are using it. If we are so Swadeshi, let's reject all the trains and don't reach here. We'll not be even able to have the discussion, right? So I would say that we should, but that is not selective acceptance, because here we are being genuinely engaging with the concept and not, just appropriating it. So I'd say that yes, intersectionality helps us in understanding how at the intersection of marginal identities a person suffers. Like we had a session on disability, and just think about if somebody who is already seen as untouchable in the society, and that person also happens to be autistic, just imagine how much our society would really exclude that person.
Push them to the margins.
Yeah, exactly. Like as to that margin that like go out of the world. We don't want you here. And similarly, like we talk, if we talk about women, a disabled woman who is bleeding, that is also again, stigmatized. Like how are we going to do, like, or helping or supporting? So that empathy is lacking. So yeah, I'd also like to read 5 lines from here, which is not my lines. This I quote from poet Swarupa Rani. These lines had been actually used by another author on another concept, which I would come down to later. But I'm using these lines to show that how at the intersections of caste and gender, a Dalit woman's life is almost determined. So Rani writes, "When has my life been truly mine? In the home, male arrogance sets my cheek stinging. Sorry. When has my life been truly mine? In the home, male arrogance sets my cheek stinging, while in the street, caste arrogance splits the other cheek open." So this line very much, clarifies, explicates that how a Dalit woman has to suffer patriarchy within her own community, yeah, internally you can say, and like externally casteism, or we can say in the horizontal strata of the society and as well as in the vertical one. So at the intersections of that marginality, we see that a Dalit woman suffers. I'm not saying that I'm not, like this is only applicable to the Dalit women lives. I'm saying that intersectionality as a tool helps us to understand like how society is complex and how we can understand and diagnose the problems in our society as social science researchers and social science, or even concerned aware citizens, in order to think about the solutions towards a better, compassionate, and just future.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Talking about Dalit folks in academia, a lot of folks face discrimination at the hands of, their professors or whoever, their guides in academia, right? So, have you faced such discrimination, or have you, do you know some people who have faced discrimination like that while studying in, higher institutes in India?
Yeah. This is an answer to the people who think that caste does not exist in urban spaces. So, an example, during my stay in JNU a couple of years back before the pandemic, we have a center, spatial center, which is also recognized as school now in Sanskrit studies. And there was a scheduled caste woman student who had completed her PhD, and she had her defense. Like, you all know, right? What is the defense? You have to defend your PhD in order to get the degree with the question answer session with an external. After the defense, they had cleaned that chair with cow milk. Yeah. So this is so much prestigious university, and people think this doesn't happen there because of active politics. No, it's there, and there are so many students who have to drop out, and the RTI had shown that how SC, ST, OBC students are given just 0 to 5 marks out of 30 in the vivas of admission. So there is this process of elimination, not a process of selection for them, even in admission process. So Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi students getting education itself is a threat to the Brahmanical system. So, so that is why they are trying to prevent that, don't get admission, and even if you get admission, you'll get low grades, you'll be discouraged. I know many of my friends were told by their professors that, why do you have to study MPhil and PhD? Masters is too much. Yeah, and some of the people would be saying that, this student does not need a B+, like not what they deserve, but what they need. So based on the marks, like the least marks required for the reserve category students, some other faculty, not even the external examiner, this was a case I know. So they said that, this is a Dalit student, so all he needs is a B-. Even, so the external said that I want to give him A only or A-, whatever is the highest I am allowed to. And this other professor said he does not need that much. So finally he got just B+. From A to A-, B+. And because the argument was he needs B-. So these are the kinds of ways how it happens. And we know like how other ways, you seclude them, you exclude them, you don't give them access to library, don't give them access to hostels. Because most of the people who come from Dalit communities, especially rural communities, which is the major population of India, they don't have proper access to living, and the families, in fact family like mine, they could not just send me to Delhi and allow me to stay outside the campus in a room where I could convey. So hostels, how hostels are very important. So hostels, like don't give them hostels on time, or like trouble them, the wardens will trouble you or something like that. So keep them troubling so that sometime or the other they'll just back off.
Right.
So this keeps happening everywhere.
People from DBA community call it institutional murder. When,
what happened with Rohit Vyamula,
right.
and so many
Payal
people.
Sadhvi.
Yeah,
Right.
Payal. Yeah, the Payal, very another example of how and Delta Meghwal. Right. How Delta Meghwal was asked to clean the space for the professor. Can a Brahmin woman or a Brahmin man be asked to come and clean some professor's house? So obviously, it's not just because she's a woman, but because she is a Dalit, she is a woman, she is a student, you are in position of authority and hierarchy, so you could say that and you could do that. So with that mindset. So so situations are created in, so that you have no other options. So,
Yeah, and then you say, why do you bring up caste when it doesn't exist?
yeah. I heard later on somebody said after the marriage session, Dalits don't exist anymore. I was like, I am alive here, hello.
Yeah.
Pure Dalit. Yeah. No, not good Dalit. I am not good Dalit, not good woman.
Uh, okay. Mm, so, so the poem you recited, it was used by a mainstream feminist in the context that, um, they say that there is Dalit patriarchy. When we say there is Brahminical patriarchy, they say that there is Dalit patriarchy. When Dalit men are, violent to women in their vicinity. So, what do you think? What do you say about that? The idea of Dalit patriarchy in India.
Thank you. I think many of the people would know about this concept. So this is like, pluralizing patriarchies, Dalit patriarchy, because there is Brahminical patriarchy, which is coined, and graded patriarchy, graded inequality, which is already known to people. So I don't know academics. One of the speakers previously was talking in a session that how no the keynote one, the first inaugural session, that one teacher, Jitu sir,
Yes.
no, the other professor,
Pawan sir.
yeah, Pawan sir, he was saying that how academics cherish this liberty of coining new terms. so so I would say maybe with good intentions, but Dalit patriarchy is a failure. And I have shown it theoretically in my article called Dalit or Brahminical Patriarchy Rethinking Indian Feminism. Because there are several issues. One I would say is Dalit patriarchy. If it is talked about the patriarchy among Dalit communities, yes, there is patriarchy among Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi communities. I would not say it is less or more, which many of the Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi scholars might want to argue for. But I'd say that I call it Dalit egalitarianism. So I'd say for the either Dalit egalitarianism or Dalit patriarchy, that Dalit men are more patriarchal than other men, we need evidence. Both are just ideas. Unless and until we have evidence, we cannot say that this is there. So I think that research should be done by the people who are making this claim. And also another issue is, if we multiply so many patriarchies, right, it would be proliferation, because there is n number of castes. Just go, I mean, like Rajput patriarchy, Mahar patriarchy, Chamar patriarchy. I mean, like that is no end. Yeah. So I
we
think
do not hear black patriarchy, but
Yeah.
they have Dalit patriarchy here.
yeah,
It
that is. That's also, yeah, even for black men, it is said that, they are more aggressive and violent, and yeah, so that's just like this problem. And also, there might be a misunderstanding of Brahminical patriarchy while coiling the term Dalit patriarchy, because Brahminical patriarchy, I want to clarify just in case, that Brahminical patriarchy is not a patriarchy of the Brahmins. So Dalit patriarchy does not make any sense if you talk about patriarchy among Dalits. So I would rather call it Dalit manifestation of Brahminical patriarchy. So Brahminical patriarchy is not a patriarchy of the Dalits, or the Brahmins, but Brahminical patriarchy concept had been coined and evolved and explained as the linkage of caste with the gender. If I can explain.
Yeah,
so
you can.
there are two major aspects which I was also talking in the previous session on the marriage, that Brahminical patriarchy has two major aspects in my research, I'd say. One is the numerical balance thing, which I was talking if you were there. So in order to maintain the caste number of people in a particular caste community, if someone's husband dies, then the wife becomes a gateway to another caste. So she might like somebody who's from another caste, but then in that way she'll break the caste purity and she'll have an inter-caste alliance. So, and she is also called a surplus woman. And this is not my research. I mean, I borrowed and I based it from Dr. Ambedkar's research on this. So I said that, that is why Sati Pratha was invented. So that who's an extra woman, let's burn her and get away with that problem. And then second, because it was not easy to burn women, and there was resistance later on.
How can you burn?
Yeah, so therefore later on they invented widowhood, so like enforced widowhood. So even girl child who used to get married, quite early in their age, even when they become widow, they were told to, they were actually forced to live their life in such a way that they shouldn't be found attractive by another man. Yeah, so she should wear just white, no colors, bald hair, and keep away from all the functions, even pujas, something like that, keep away and not eat food with spices and masala and cream and so just live very simple life, live like a sadhvi almost, and just follow what your family is saying. So widowhood was invented like that. So if a girl child is widowed, then her life is just like that. All her life she'll be that way. So these were two things invented for the surplus woman, who's like the extra woman in the caste community in that. And then for the other cases where the woman dies, for that they cannot say that, a man should die, be burned. Mahatma Phule talks about it, like why isn't there a Sata? Right, we don't have a Sata, we only have Sati. So we never saw a man, out of love and passion,
Jumping on fires.
Yeah, so we don't have the idea of Sata. And also, how can a man be asked to live like a widower, all no tasty food, not going out, not chilling with friends, no relatives? Oh goodness, what kind of rule, what life will that be? So because of the limited education and awareness among women, and women did not have property. Property is important. They did not have a property, and they did not have education or awareness. They did not have a say in making the rules or even anywhere. So men made these rules, and precisely that time Brahmin men made these rules. And so that time they decided that a girl child should be married to the widower in order to balance the surplus man. So that because man is not a gateway to another caste, woman is a gateway to another caste, intercaste alliance. Yeah. So and whoever is the their offspring and all will be of the same caste if they marry a girl child. So these were one thing, but these things were initially limited to and prescribed for the Brahmin Rajput women. And later on, with imitation, it also went to the middle caste and Shudras, OBCs, currently OBCs. And this is one major aspect of Brahminical patriarchy, which I take from Ambedkar, which I also discussed even more in Ambedkar as a feminist philosopher article. And the second aspect, I would say, for Dalit women did not have any space in the scriptures and ancient texts other than in the role of Devdasi, Jogani and Murali. Right. So sexual availability and sexual exploitation of a Dalit woman is very, quite determined by her identity, caste gender identity. And that is why this cover on this book, this is Devdasi with a crow. So this, I don't know which page, so it has the whole picture. Where it is shown, this painting is made by a Dalit artist called Savi Savarkar, and I'm not able to locate. Found it. This. So this painting shows that how Dalit woman has a black crow on her head as a signifier of, how caste is controlling her entire life. And there are some marks, like, abortion marks on her already, she looks pregnant, and then again she had so many cuts on her body. So from that sexual exploitation, what she happened to go through by this Devadasi idea, she got pregnant, and then nobody claimed the child. So in that way, Dalit women were also seen that, to be accessible, to be exploitable, and nobody cares about their consent. Even the idea of consent, like Rajasthan High Court, even in the Bhavari Devi case, if you know, said that this judges said that she is unrapeable, because the idea of the rape idea, rape is the definition of rape is sexual penetration with consent is sex, and sexual penetration without consent is rape. So a person needs to have an agency in order to give or withdraw consent, because kids cannot consent or animals cannot, and that is why it's illegal and unethical. So the High Court judge said, because she is a Dalit, she does not have an agency, so we cannot say whether she can give or withdraw consent, and that is why she is unrapeable. So this is the situation, and this is not very long ago. So I am saying that how the ancient idea and gaze on Dalit women still exists in our society. And that is where I was also saying that, how for marginalized women sometimes marriage comes to be a resort, because and also like how we see like so many upper caste men, they would like to explore with Dalit women, but when it comes to marriage, their family would be like, no, you can't marry her. No, marriage, you can't marry her. Because marriage is like, you have to associate with them, and you have to show publicly that, she's your partner. But that requires you to be courageous enough to be anti-caste.
Right. So why do we want an anti-caste society?
Because our society is inherently casteist.
Yes.
Yeah, if in the white spaces, the Europe and America, we need an anti-race. So, if we are not in a society like this, so for example, in a patriarchal society, as long as we are not anti-patriarchal, we are just patriarchal.
Right.
I mean, I have this strong belief, and black scholars, many of the black feminists also have the same argument, like, unless and until you are anti-race, you are racist, because you are following race. Because you cannot say that I am neutral, because it is the wave. If the wave is that way, you cannot say that I'm neutral, because everything is leading towards a direction. And if you are saying I'm neutral, then of course you are also going with the wave. So you have to be anti-casteist in a casteist society. You have to be anti-patriarchal in a patriarchal society. You have to be, pro-homo in a homophobic society. You have to be anti-Islamophobic in Islamophobic society. You have to be anti-disabled, in the anti-ableism in an ableist society. Otherwise, you cannot be inclusive. And I think unless and until we are inclusive, we cannot really exercise the full potential of being humans.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So I think there's a lot to retrospect, to introspect, to unlearn. More than learning, we need to unlearn, because our society has been, Dalits and women have been taught and trained in a way that they'll doubt themselves all their life. And like, am I good enough? Do I deserve this? Did I earn it? So I think we are trained in that way. We have to unlearn those things. we have to reimagine society, that had our society not been homophobic, how would queer love be? Right? We don't see queer people around or open and about everywhere. They are so scared because there is so much of violence and trauma about being open and about who you are. So I think and society is consisted by the people, each and every person. So if one person makes some impact of being, of becoming, or put some effort of becoming inclusive or becoming empathetic, not sympathy, because sympathy has done disasters, we know that. So, I mean, sympathy, includes you out. Yeah, you are here. Like that happens in the West for Indians. Yeah, you are here, but yeah, just on that corner, that edge. Don't come here, don't come near me. So, not the sympathy. Sympathy is also a way of, narcissistic way of feeling good about ourselves. Yes, yes, I have Dalit friends. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm speaking so much.
Please speak a lot. Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Please don't troll me. I'm not active on social media.
Okay. Yeah, also, you said that I have Dalit friends, and how people discredit, reservation, like they say that my Dalit friends are doing very well, why do they need reservation?
Yeah. They having friendship with Dalits is reservation for them. So, yeah, that's all they needed. I mean, I have become friends with them. Why do they need reservation? I'm accepting them. I'm having food with them. So, well, so if we go by the data, so since I focus on the Dalit women. I would say that, recent surveys show that Dalit women live 20 years less than the average in India. So just think, and the population is Dalit women's population is 9.79 crores in 2011, according to the national census. So 9.79 crore Dalit women are living 20 years less. That is not accidental. That is because of Brahminical patriarchy, and then. That is 16.68% of the total Indian population in 2011. So now it must be so much, but the caste census is still not. Yeah, we are still waiting for that. And about education. So Adivasi women get just 11% in the higher education, and Dalit women just 16%. While it's more than double for the so-called upper caste people, which is 34% in higher education. So when we talk about reservation for women, and if we are anti-reservation, let's not talk about reservation for women, right? And also diversity in the Western academia, like all these people who are against reservation in India, they'd go happily seek this, diversity in the West.
I'm a person of color.
Yeah.
Minority in West.
Yeah, exactly.
But you
Person of color and Bengali Brahmin. Yeah, so we have to really think, like, are we true to ourselves? I mean, so I think a lot of introspection has to be made. And yeah, let's have the data of how many Dalits are living what kind of life. And this might be very controversial, but I would still say that because I had some aggressive discussions with my school friends and other friends earlier. So they said that, Brahmins are also poor, the usual. I agree, yeah. 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 Well, because Brahmins are supposed to be, poor Brahmin are supposed to be above the OBC's creamy layer. See the irony also. OBC's creamy layer is lower than the Brahmin's poverty level. So that's also, because the norm is Brahminical, so Brahmins cannot be poor. And also, if one person in a Dalit family gets a job, no matter what kind of job, everybody will like, yeah, you are liberated. Yeah, and Until and unless each and every individual from a Brahmin family gets a permanent job, like very stable, they will remain poor. I mean, that's the argument. So, and so I would say that, also let's look around our society and find how many Brahmin people are cleaning someone's toilet. And let's go and see anywhere. I'm saying, like, most of the people in sanitary departments, everywhere, even in higher education institutions, which I know closely because I work there, and also in the post-mortem places, the people who dispose, after the body after the post-mortem, those are the people who are Dalits. So all these menial jobs are still assigned to Dalits. So more reserved seats for these jobs, but no reservation in the respected jobs. So, yeah, reservation, I think, yeah, and also there is this argument that, unless and until we have some women working for like sex work, I mean, sex work is another controversial and, complex question. Let's say that a Savarna woman, if she's saying that, we need some women to do that work so that our women be safe, I think they need to really think, are they women? Yeah, and not just women. I mean, how can you prescribe for another individual to go through rapes every day, and while you being at a privileged position theorizing about it?
Right.
So there are liberal views as well, but I'd say that given the history of Devadasi and Murli and the trafficking of even girls from Northeast and people from lower caste Muslim and Dalits, Adivasis, so given that the major population being that, even in the sex work should be questioned and seen that if their leader is saying that sex work is a choice, then we have to see where does the leader come from. What is their background and how much have they suffered? I mean, like, I'm not saying someone's suffering is less or more, but how much caste element is at play while you're talking about something or, yeah, so many things. Yeah.
Yeah. And they say, like, sex work should be, it's your choice to do whatever you want. But according to the caste system, the sex work is given to just, it's assigned to just, Dalit women or Bahujan women. And then you say that it should be a choice. So you are excluding a major part of, women from the feminist discourse by saying that they don't need a different, the Dalit feminism is not a thing, right? So so yeah, it's it's a step forward to a gender just society. So can we open the stage to questions now?
Yeah, can
Do you
I
want
say
to-
one
yeah.
more thing?
Yes,
Just one
please.
more thing. So, where I'm not able to locate the exact quote, but I have put in this book at the introduction only that, when we talk about choice in the sex work, there is also research, like survey reports show that how 77.1% women who are in sex work, maybe just sex work or alongside with some other work like daily wage labor or everyday vendors, they are given a choice between either have either do this the other works which you're having, like daily wage laborers and vendors or sex work. So they choose to do sex work, some of them, so like 77.7%, and because they are provided with the opportunity, both the opportunities where they get more money from sex work, while both the jobs they are provided with is void of dignity. So even if you are working as a servant or like the toilet cleaner or such jobs or sex work, you are not getting a dignified life or a treatment like, of equal and deserved person, but you will be getting that, undignified. So that is why they choose money over, the other job, and they go for sex work. So I'm mentioning this because against the idea that sex work is a matter of choice. So it would be a matter of choice. Technically, it can be a matter of choice. It is a choice that they are making a choice between the sex work or the, other kind of work they are given. But if we see all the works they are getting, all the opportunities, then they are not left with many options. They are only getting two options: either money without dignity, no money without dignity. So which one will you take? So I would say that is not really a choice. If it is a choice, and this is data, 77.1%, people said that they are into this because they needed money and they have family to, dependent on them. So all of that. So I'm not saying that everybody is there by force, but I'm still saying that the majority of them is there because, at least in our place, that, because they have no other options. So I would rather go for their rehabilitation, as many of the Dalit women feminists have argued before. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
First of all, thank you so much for this insightful talk. As I read somewhere, the concept of Dalit capitalism, where the advancement of the Dalit peoples in industrial, business, and entrepreneurial work is more encouraging nowadays by providing them some financial incentives. So the basic question is, what would be the positive role of women in promoting the idea of Dalit capitalism? And the second question is, what is the analogical relationship between Dalit feminism and black feminism? Thank you.
Great. Thank you. First, I would like to say, let's call it Dalit resourcefulness and not capitalism.
Right.
Because capitalism is very problematic again. So if we are fighting one problem, let's not get into another one. I'd say that. So even like, endorsing Dalit entrepreneurship, or providing them some basic resources for a better life, I'd say, how can we? I think firstly there needs to be work done for their education and health. Since I mentioned 20 years, then below the average, the women die. So that means that of course, they are malnourished. I mean, I had read the research about their nutrition to malnourished and no education. They barely have a proper place to live. Like many of the people live in urban spaces and slums, and in rural spaces again they have other issues. They work in the fields of other people where they get how much money they could, and so they work on daily basis on how much money they could gather. That's how their family runs, and many of the time their husband would be like drinking or gambling and beating them up. So that is our reality, and I'm not ashamed to say that is a reality. And caste problem or Dalit problem is not just a problem of Dalits, because as a society we have created this situation. So as a society we are all responsible to correct this wrong as well. So I'd say the schools, hospitals, primarily should reach out to them, find way mechanisms. I have recently in another conference I met first tribal woman vice chancellor of India, and she gave an amazing insight to me, which was quite thought-provoking. She said that in our university, Jharkhand, they are, creating programs and courses especially designed for skill development among the rural Dalit Adivasi people and women. So, university is reaching out to educate and facilitate them or provide them with skills so that they can. Sindhu also worked on how to help people on writing or articulation who are in education sector. So things like this. So things like that should be done. Like it's necessary. And then, yeah, of course, resources, funding, and then with empathy and not charity. Yeah. So, and many of the Dalit people, Adivasi people, like DBA people, are actually working to, facilitate and provide resources to the younger generation. Uh, like many of the people in academia, I know that how, like Nalanda Academy is just like 2 hours away from here in Warta, and how they are helping marginalized students to prepare for the, elite universities entrance exams. So I think that is one. And then hospitals, I don't know, I think hospitals never had this idea of, like the caste angle in there. They might have poverty angle, but I don't know, maybe not in private hospital. Yeah, so I think we need to work on that, while at the same time, this is a long work, and nobody alone can do this. So each and every person, however, in whatever capacity. Like this program is wonderfully organized, like on voluntary basis, right? I'm so amazed to see how passionate each and every person is. So this kind of commitment is required for something like that. Did you say another question?
That is feminism versus black feminism.
Yeah, so the concept of intersectionality and philosophizing that black feminism through the concept of intersectionality has come from the black feminist. So, and also feminist of color. So kudos to them, thanks to them. I seek inspiration from them. I take inspiration from them, from Ambedkar, Buddha, Periyar, Phule. So that's how I think, like, of course we cannot, but then we cannot equate caste with race. So which is a major critique of Isabel Wilkerson's book Caste. So people like her famous line is that race is skin and caste is the bone. Like caste, yeah, caste is the bone. So about that, many of my friends who are black feminists, they also said that that is not a nice way of putting it. So it's very different. So I'd say black was the racism has an imperialist and capitalist in slavery, while caste problem evolved through the I'd say religious institutions. So this was an slavery of an spiritual as well as emotional as well as physical intellectual kind. So that we have to keep that difference in mind while we are going towards. So I'm not saying that we cannot work together, but I'm saying that there is a difference, but at the same time the methods would help. Like both the methods would help both the discourses.
Hi. I was curious. So I read in some of Ambedkar's work that he said that ultimately the only cure for caste, or the main cure for caste, will be caste intermarriage. Until we're all sort of married into each other's families, maybe given your prior session, maybe we should interpartnership instead of intermarriage. But and I've seen that there have been some programs, I think in Odisha, and now in maybe even in Tamil Nadu, there was at least discussion of incentives for caste intermarriage, right? So then I guess you get some sort of tax break or something if you marry outside your caste. So I'm curious what you think about those policies, and whether you think that they help more than they hurt. And I'm also curious whether you think that the dynamic's different if the woman is the Dalit and the man is Savarna versus the man being Dalit and the woman being Savarna, whether the policy would play out differently in those cases.
Thank you for your question. I would say that I agree that intercaste marriages and intercaste partnership are one of the ways to annihilate. The starting point of annihilating patriarchy. So any kind of encouragement for this, I would I'd like to support that intercaste alliances, and also the difference between if a man or a woman, like their caste identity. So I think it very much depends on also the perspective or the principles by which a person lives. So like if I have, for example, a Brahmin partner and I'm a Dalit woman, and if that person is anti-caste, then that might not make much of a difference. But if I marry, yeah, just imagine I'm a Brahmin woman and I am marrying a Dalit man who works as a foot soldier in the right wing, something, right? So that would be, that would be difficult. And also, yes, who has the resources, who had the power, who has the privilege? So we can say that, if a person is, and also the mainstream. So I think if intercaste marriages or intercaste partnerships are taking place, should be intentional. I mean, if you just happen to find, happen to find a partner of another caste and you end up marrying together or living together, but don't really care or bother about caste as an issue, I think that might make some impact, because you might in your head think that, yeah, we have taken this step because we did not have another option, but what about our kids? They might not find another alliance. So I think the intention should be there that yes, we are doing this, and know that it is a courageous step and be proud on it, and at the same time fight with all your will, because it's something which you're doing not only for yourself, but you're doing it to correct the wrongs in the society. So I'd say that is there, but then it is not all. I mean, that's one part of it.
Hi. So I think my question is about taking space. So I feel like if you are a Dalit person who takes space in a Brahminical setting, it's revolutionary. And I'm pretty sure for you to do that in a higher education space where we just discussed that there is a lot of violence and there's a lot of backlash against Dalit persons. So I think my question was, how do you take up space and how do you assert yourself in an environment where you're not wanted?
Yeah, thank you. This is very interesting question and also important. So taking up space, I mean, you meant how Dalit people are taking spaces, getting spaces, and not the otherwise, right?
Yeah, it's about you taking space in an environment, let's say education environment.
Okay.
Where,
Yeah, got it. Thanks. Yeah, so I can very much relate with this because I'm in a discipline of philosophy, which, like, it is revered, right? Philosophers are like seen as saints, and philosophy is very privileged discipline. Like in the West, was limited to and like arrived from like aristocratic like white old men, right? And in yeah. I mean, now also we read the dead old white men as the origin of philosophy, and in India, it is very much mostly dominated by the upper caste men, yeah, primarily Brahmins, because philosophy is seen as not so different from religion. Yeah. So I'd say that it is. I think it's great that I got an opportunity, and I will put all my efforts to prove that I deserve this, and I am here, and I see what you're doing. So, and I am prepared. So I'm not. I mean, at the same time, I have to work double or triple in order to show, like, I had to write a chapter on feminism in philosophy and a chapter on Ambedkar philosophy in order to, get that space, in order to be able to do what I want to do. So I think we have to, so that is one step, that you have to be really committed and, hardworking in order to, which shouldn't be a burden. I mean, again, you have to prove, like, as a woman, you have to prove you are equal, right? Even if you are head of a department, your colleagues would think you don't deserve this. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you have to do extra. So that pain, I think, at least some of our generation have to take in order to create space for the younger generations. That one. And second, I think associations and a safe space provide you provide you the support, necessary support, to be able to find confidence in what you think and what you believe, and that confidence helps you assert your individuality and your difference within a mainstream community. So that has helped me a lot. Like I was part of an Ambedkarite students organization. I'm still, but I'm not active now. So I think that had helped me a lot. And I have seen that has been helping so many people. Like, and that is something which also, because I was thinking that why some of the Dalit professors are very, nervous and hesitant and not so outspoken. Then I found so far that the difference was of associations and how active you are and what is your intention and all of that versus if you try to fit into the mainstream. Is that not working?
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for your talk. My question is from a researcher's perspective. A non-Dalit researcher, even if he or she is anti-caste, does not have the lived experiences of Dalit. So in that scenario, is it like we should not think about studying on their behalf or writing on their behalf, or there is some approach that, that we need to take up in that scenario? That
Great,
is
very important question. Thank you. Please don't give this up. No, caste is not Dalit's problem. So, as a society, our ancestors have created it. So, being educators, being in education, being concerned citizens, it's our responsibility to eradicate all the wrongs which is being done in our society. So, but then don't do anything on behalf of them, because no one can represent, another person. Like, just imagine in your family, I go and I'm like, hi, can I have lunch? They'll be like, who are you? Like, no, I'm just here again, like replacing your daughter. That's not possible, right? So yeah, like we cannot do things on behalf of anyone. Especially we have to be cautious as researchers that we cannot do it on behalf of someone, but we can do it for sure alongside with them. So like there had been Brahmins, so many Brahmins in Ambedkar's periods and Fule's movement. So many Brahmins who were anti-caste, and of course they were. This also the retaliation they also had to face from their society. That now to tum Dalit ban gaye ho. Now you're like you eat with the untouchables. You are untouchable for me. So that we have to be prepared for that. That if we are doing it with commitment, then we have to be ready to take all of that criticisms from similar folk, same community people, while at the same time also do not try to lead. Because so many white people had been writing about the black experience, and so many Brahmins are writing about Ambedkar and caste and Dalit. So of course nobody is happy about it, and so the question of appropriation must be taken seriously while we are researching on it. And so I'd say you don't have experience, so also try to get the understanding of some scholar who has experience or who has worked on this experience, Dalit experience, and themselves are also working in that. Because experience part, no one can, but at the same time, don't try to, just extract their experience and theorize and publish in your name. Because, like too much of this is happening, going on now.
One final question.
Yeah, can you, ma'am, take up one question, please?
Can you all speak and I'll just hear, and if I could. Okay. 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 Yeah, you.
Oh, okay. My kind of question is a little long. I was just wondering, coming from a legal background, I've read Kimberly Crenshaw, then I've read Nivedita Menon, and Shreya Atre for that matter, and they all have a take that the multiple discrimination that a woman or a person faces when standing at the intersection, these all discrimination are not additive. So I was just wondering, do we really have a legal address to these multiple discrimination?
Due to paucity of time, I have to stop this session now. We have extended 20 minutes with the fabulous Sunaina Arya. She is going to be available in the lawns for you to continue our interaction, take it to the lawns, buy her book, get it signed by her. Sunaina Arya, it was an absolute fantastic session. Feminism is a virus in marriage. Dalit feminism is a virus to feminism. Let's be honest in our responsibility towards feminism. Subtle, undertone, yet very powerful moderation by Preeti Salve. I would now request the artist present over here, Bhargahi Chorghare, from Alag Angle to present a token of appreciation to the author. The gift is a handmade painting made by Bhargahi Chorghare. It has been personalized. It has been personalized for Sunaina. We are proud to be associated with such talent from Alag Angle community. I request the moderator to please hand over the gift back to the author and then usher Sunaina back to the audience where they can continue asking her questions. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.